Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. This program is sponsored by World Outsourcing Solutions, where we specialize in providing business owners and entrepreneurs with outsourcing services. If you want to get a hold of us, visit us at www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com for more information. Now, welcome again to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur, where we are going to be sharing with you things that actually help you in your business if you apply them today. And I'm very excited to be having Jody Swift on the show today, sharing with us some of strategies she has used to help business owners over there in Canada that is actually working and making a real difference to people. Now, Jody is a transformational teacher stroke speaker. She does both. In fact, she has a degree in transformational. She's a teacher when it comes to transformational. Now, Jody was speaking actually a few weeks ago in Las Vegas and did receive an amazing standing ovation from the people she was delivering the message to. And we're going to be hearing from her on how she can help business owners like you. So welcome to the show, Jody.
Hi, thank you.
Incredible. Really appreciate you taking time to talk to us today about empowerment and many aspects of of transformation, so to speak.
I'm very excited to be here today.
Incredible. Now, for the benefit of our audience today, how did you end up doing what you're doing?
I feel like I kind of naturally fell into it. I'd
Right.
been a high school teacher for 18 years and was challenged to work with adults after a tragedy in our country. So we had a massive flood at a local town, and a number of people died. And I was brought in by the Red Cross after the flood to work with kids to help them get their fun back into their life.
Right.
And so when I had finished working with the kids, their parents would come pick them up and noticed a tremendous difference in how they were showing up in general. Just they seemed happier and more content. And the parents said to me, "Do you do this for adults?" And I said, "I can." And so I challenged myself to do just that. And I started working with other teachers initially, putting them through classes and seeing how it was received.
Right.
And then the feedback I got was tremendous, and it just took off from there.
Incredible. You shared with me earlier on before we went live on the show how this comes to you so natural, and how both young and say elderly as well find being in your presence so i- calming. Talk to me about that in the audience.
I heard that feedback a lot throughout
Right.
my life, and particularly as a teacher, where students would come and just ask if they could be in my space. And people I didn't even teach, they were like, "I really like how it feels around you and around here. Can I be in your space?" And I thought, that is really cool. Yes, of course you can. And then when my students would graduate, they'd write me and tell me that they missed the space that we had created.
Beautiful.
And I realized that, that sense of peace and sanctuary was really important in education in general and learning, but more so a space for people to be authentic. Because I didn't care what color their skin was, if they were gay, straight, otherwise, tall, short, fat, thin, like whatever they brought to the table was real, and we dealt with what was real about them. And then I would help them find what was unique and special.
Right.
Help them drive them towards their purpose. But in order to do that, they had to figure out how they were showing up and why now.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And what I really love about you, Jody, is the service you actually provide now to business owners. Business owners need that, because if you are having a very busy schedule, you want to be in a position to remove yourself from there and get to a place and, well, know how to to be in that place where you learn how to show up better and you are calm, and all that goes with that. Now, how do you work with the business owners today?
Well, business owners are a unique demographic because oftentimes they are challenged of being really two people,
Yes.
right? At least at the minimum. They have this personal persona that they pursue outside of the workplace.
Correct.
And then within the workplace, they have this persona that they pursue. And tend to identify with both on different levels. However, what often happens is as they spend years in these personas, there becomes a disconnect between them and a misalignment.
That's right.
And so, what I often do is help them find the realignment, the connection between the two, where you can be authentically yourself within the workplace. And if you're unable to, is that the correct workplace for you? Are you in the right place? Are you living your life's purpose? What is it that dropped you there in the first place? What drew you there? And of course, oftentimes the response I get is the money. People, get drawn by the desire to have money, and of course we all do. That's money's energy, and and that energy exchange is important. But what as often happens is the energy that's being drawn from money, that's coming from a workplace that's unfulfilling,
Right.
comes with it this lack of fulfillment. So it's not even that I'm getting this money and it's wonderful and I'm going to do wonderful things with it. People start to resent the money,
That's right.
even. And
Incredible.
it's a really gross energy to work in. And so oftentimes what I do is help people figure out their why from the beginning. Why did you start here? Like, what
Right.
was the draw here? And
Right.
sometimes they choose to stay, and sometimes they choose to end that contract and move forward in a different way.
That's right. That's right. As long as they've been given a choice. Now, before we jump on to other aspect, I'm really interested now to find out how can business get to that place. Say, for example, I come to you as a business owner. I'm not aligned. What would be your advice? Say maybe in 2, 3 steps that they need to do to get themselves back on the track.
I love to utilize other people's work. I don't really believe in reinventing the wheel.
Right.
And so one of the things I would do is probably send them to Janet Atwood's work and look at their passion. She does the passion test, and 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 it has done some beautiful work around the passion test. So I've actually brought in passion test facilitators for a number of my students so that they can kind of have a look at what drives them on that level to begin with.
Right.
And then the other thing I would recommend is reading the 5 Languages of Love.
Right.
Gary Chapman's work, and he speaks about how we give and receive love. And I know that sounds like a disconnect or a little floofy in comparison to, the pragmatic, tough place of the, where the workplace drives us.
Yes.
However, once you figure out what your love languages are and what drives you, you can figure out whether or not they're being fulfilled in your workplace.
Incredible.
And so people stay where they are because they're being rewarded in some way.
Right.
So, for example, with you may love the power of language. And so you might have a love language around words. And so if words of affirmation and words are a big love language for you, being in talk radio makes sense because you're being fulfilled on a high level on a daily basis, with what you're doing.
Incredible.
And so that would be the 2 pieces of literature that I would pick up immediately. I would look for the 5 Languages of Love and your passion test.
Incredible. You gave us a name for our audience to check out. Would you give that again, please?
The authors' names?
Yes, for the passion test you mentioned.
Yes, I believe it's Janet Atwood. And I just want to double check that so that I can. That will take me 2 seconds. Because if I got her name wrong, then people are going to be Googling. They're be like, who's Janet Atwood? She's going to
Yes.
get a lot of press. Um,
Incredible.
the passion test. It's it's brilliant. It was brought to me by a friend of mine who, when I was sitting at a crossroads, and I was very surprised by my results. I was like actually shocked by my results, and of course I got a little bit judgy about them too, because I thought, like, why are these my passion?
Right.
Yep, I was correct. It is Janet Atwood. So the two authors are actually Chris Atwood, Attwood, and then Janet Bray Atwood.
Incredible.
And yeah, and it's called The Passion Test.
Incredible. And if you're just listening and you just caught up there, this is one way you'll be able to identify or figure out how you can get back to an alignment if you find yourself out of alignment and you just want to get back to a place where you know you're doing the things that you absolutely love and you're working at ease. Moving forward, Jody, in your career helping business owners, how has what you do improved business owners' lives?
I think that, I think it would be cocky to say that it was just me who improved someone's world. But I think the biggest thing I can offer somebody is tools,
Right.
right? Just self-awareness. Oftentimes we get wrapped up in doing instead of being. And so what I often do in my classes is bring them back to being. By doing, ironically enough. So my classes are very, very physical, meaning that you don't come and sit and listen to me talk for an hour and then walk away. It is about putting the work into work right away. And so, yeah, I would say that it would be about providing tools for the business owner to be able to move forward in their work and stay focused on their why.
Right.
Because the semantics of running a business, we know, there's marketing elements that come into play. Finances are clearly really, really important part of being a business. The relationship building, that's another component that I actually do a full class on, is building relationships. Because if you don't have a relationship with your clients and or your colleagues, you don't have a business. So you need to be able to work with people and read people a little bit.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Super important.
Yes. Jody, you've touched an element which I totally agree with, and that was, self-awareness. This came to me years ago, actually. I used to hate to spend time with myself and to evaluate what I'm doing. And I wasn't aware of the impact that I was having on both my employees and my clients. But it was after going through certain exercises, just like you do, that it became very clear that certain things I was doing were actually pushing people away from me.
Yes.
And there were other things that I was doing that draws a certain type of people to me that I actually didn't want in my business. And
very, very, very common. That's
yes.
very common.
So, when you mentioned self-awareness for business owners, I totally agree with that. And, do you have any exercise or, any advice on how people can engage in becoming aware of their self, or that you teach in your classes?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's so many. I do one just on body posture in
Right.
my communications class.
Okay.
And just being aware whether or not your arms are crossed when you're engaged in a conversation with somebody, or whether or not you're actually listening.
Right.
So many times we're waiting to talk. We're not actually listening, to what somebody has to say.
Yeah, you
And
are
so
thinking of what to say to what is being said.
that's right. That's right. And they're speaking, and you're like, oh, I've got a story to tell when they're done. but you're not really then present to what they're saying. So I do exercises with my clients around that listening component. And then I also do exercises around the communication piece. What am I communicating? We know that over 80% of communication is through body language,
Correct.
right? And so what am I communicating just by my attire? What am I communicating by my energy when I walk in a room? What am I communicating how I stand or how I sit? All of those things create a communication piece, and how they're interpreted by other people is clearly on the other person. But we can aid and embed that, right? We can make that go in one particular direction or another. And so just being aware of, sitting in a closed body position versus sitting in an open body position. A closed body position makes you unapproachable. Oftentimes standoffish, sometimes to the point where people aren't even aware that they are pushing people away, as you mentioned earlier. And I mean, the message literally could have been, well, I was just cold. My hands were cold and I was just tucking them in. Well, that's not what was interpreted by the person sitting directly across from you, right?
Incredible.
So just being aware of being able to even communicate that, I'm a little cold right now, so I'm just covering my hands for that purpose. Being able to communicate where we're at with whomever we're with makes a big difference in terms of the success of that communication piece.
Incredible. I love how you're breaking things so simple in such a way that people can actually begin to look at those things for themselves. During your classes, transformational classes, uh, would would you say there are certain things that people do which they think are having a positive impact, yet in reality they are not making a good impact at all when it comes to reaching their goals as business owners?
I think one of the things I see over and over again is follow through.
Right.
And believing that they can. We get so wrapped up in the how, we forget about the why.
That's right.
And the intention, the initial intention of looking for what they want to get out of the business. And so when I'm doing goal setting with my clients, I try. Well, I don't try. I do um, suggest that they rid themselves of the burden of the how. How am I going to get it? Because it will come. It will come if you focus on the end result.
Right.
The how will find its way.
That's right.
It always does. And so getting very, very clear about what they want to create in their business in terms of an end result, and not just a number. I want it to be a $1.2 million business. Well, that's nice. How much energy do you have on that? Like, what is the energy on that money piece for you?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because money will come too. That's also a secondary portion of business, right? If you want to touch people's lives, when you get your heart involved in your business, you create difference, because people relate to each other through our hearts.
Absolutely.
That's
Gosh.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's our connection piece. So when you can get to your heart, the heart of your business, then you'll start connecting to people on that deeper level, and the money will come. It will absolutely come.
And
But the
you make
fulfillment will be there from the get-go.
absolutely, and you get to make the real difference, to contribute in other people's life in such a way that they will know that if you were not part of their life, things wouldn't be as best as they are.
Oh, for any entrepreneur, right? Like, I mean, the secret of a business is to find out what people don't have and fulfill it.
That's right.
Right? Like, ultimately, successful businesses do that. What is the niche? What is the need of people? And how am I going to fulfill it? However, if it comes from an area of, I'm going to fulfill it so I can make money, that's kind of a duh. But you are attempting to make money, but why are you fulfilling that niche?
That's right.
Like, what is it about that need that drives you to fulfill it. So for me, with empowerment, that fulfillment piece comes from a deep-seated, very old, a very young part of me that was about protecting children
Right.
and about creating safety and sanctuary. And so my drive in my business of creating these classes was to create a place of safety and sanctuary so that the authentic self could come forward. And so I'm in the process of actually building a studio space called Studio Me,
Wow.
which is my entrepreneur side, where I'm building a space where these classes can be taught on a regular basis, but also a space where fine arts and well-being classes in general can come together under the same roof, because they're all about expression, self-expression, and learning and growing and creating, So brand new concept. I looked around my area and went, what do people need?
Right.
They need a space for emotional and mental health, and where people can come and start fulfilling all kinds of well-being needs. So there's physical stuff in there, there's financial stuff, there's occupational, spiritual, social, all kinds of modalities that are going to be fulfilled so that a person walks out feeling whole.
Incredible. And then they go out and do what they need to do, because they are now operating from a place of peace, rather than a place where they're frantically moving from one thing to another, being influenced by everything else.
Exactly. I had my last series of classes I did were based on the psychology of happiness,
Right.
and we called it Happy Hour Squared because it was 2 hours. And we wanted
Beautiful.
to see if we could intentionally shift happiness by doing things from the documentary film Happy,
Right.
that they determined were shifting. And so we got together once a week, and for 2 hours we would essentially play. And in different ways utilize the tools that were offered in that film to see if it shifted. And I surveyed, it was like a great big social experiment, really. Surveyed all of the people prior and all the people after, and it was very strongly determined that it is absolutely possible to do. And people, when we shut it down, were actually quite devastated that we
Right.
weren't continuing it, because it became a regular part of their week, of their mental health and clarity time, where they knew that there was one day a week where they would actually experience a sense of joy.
A sense of
It
peace.
was pretty powerful. It was pretty cool.
Beautiful. I hope you would open that up, because you were already serving a community at that point.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting the studio on its feet so we can offer those classes again.
Beautiful. Jody, let me just take you maybe on your entrepreneurial side of things.
Okay.
You when you got out of maybe say teaching children and getting into helping the adult, what had to happen for you to make the transition that I'm actually gonna make this as a business? Because you knew you had a gift, but then you've gone on to provide that gift in exchange of money. What had to happen?
I needed to outgrow my system.
Right.
Yeah, I needed to look at something that I couldn't do within the confines of the current system that I was working in. I still do teach part-time
Wonderful.
at high school, and I love it. I'm still very, very passionate about it. However, I needed to wrap my head around my why,
Right.
and it was about reciprocity. It was about this reciprocal nature of, if I could give at the level that I know I'm capable of giving, and to people, who would they give to? And what could we create within my community? And then eventually I would like to, I'd really like to franchise and create this concept I don't even know if it's really franchising. I just really want to create the different studios in different areas of the world, so that this concept of um, reciprocity could grow. People within their communities giving to each other at a high level that has to do with emotional and mental health.
Wonderful.
If I give to them and fill them up and fill their cups up, then they'll give to other people and fill their cups up. And it all comes back, and the entire community gets to thrive together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I love to hear the sound of that. And I'm sure here in England, we would certainly love to have something that works similarly to that. So when you talk about franchise, making that concept available to others, it's certainly, it's possible because it's needed among business owners. So
That'll be
going back
amazing.
to you wanted to do that. How did you get your first client? How did you find somebody to work with outside of the employment circle, so to speak?
Well, I kind of bridged it by working with teachers that I'd already worked with. I was invited to a conference for teachers by our Alberta Local Teachers Association
Right,
to run a class, and I asked them if I could focus the class on the teachers instead of the kids.
right,
And because oftentimes at conferences we're looking for ideas as teachers to bring back into our classroom and teach, right? And
right.
so they thought this was kind of a unique idea and allowed me to go ahead and do it. So that was my first audience. And then I took that concept and decided to move it to my local library in town to see if I offered a free class, if people would come, if that would make a difference in people's lives. And then they didn't want to leave. And I kept getting that same feedback over and over again, people wanting to stay and wanting more. And so I just continued to build, and I had a steadfast audience. I had one fellow, 61 years old, who would
Yes.
come to my classes, and he would drive 40 minutes
Wow.
to come to my class once a week. Yeah. He drove from, I live in a town that's close to a larger city, and he was downtown in the city center, and he would come. And he took my Be Do Have series of classes 3 times. He took the whole series 3 different times. And I asked him why, what he was getting out of it. And he said something different every time. He was in a
Oh,
different place every time he was taking it. And so he was actually my inspiration for creating my second series, because I just refused to have him take it 4 times. I was like,
incredible.
okay, I'm going to build more classes. And so I actually meditated on the idea, and the psychology. I teach psychology at my high school, and
Right.
I thought, it'd be very interesting to see if I could do the psychology of happiness and really dive into that in a social experiment way. So we created Happy Hour Squared classes, and that took off as well. So yeah, it just started with this conference and then snowballed into the community.
Incredible. I'm now very interested in knowing your series of Be Do Have, which you've just mentioned. Is this available for our audience online? Should they want to access it, or it's still
Oh my
offline?
gosh. I think that's a brilliant idea. It's still in its infancy, so I have not actually recorded anything that can go online. I love the idea of that, and
Right.
I've actually had a few of my clients mention it to me, where they have come and taken the classes and wanted to review by doing something at home. So I think I'm now hearing that from you makes me think that that is my next step.
Incredible. Absolutely. Because, with what you are giving, I'm sure, our audience would love to experience what, the 61-year-old gentleman experienced, even in a different remote part of the world, and you just extend your gift to others.
Yeah, and or I just need to get to London.
Absolutely. Oh, it's the better way.
Hey,
Come to London. Absolutely. That's the best thing to do.
right? I just need to come to London and offer the classes there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And how long are these classes normally, Jody? Are they uh,
They run about 2 hours.
wonderful?
I started building them as an hour and a half, and we went over every time. And then we get to the end of the 2 hours, and they're like, "We want more," and I
Yeah,
giggle,
and
and then I
they.
say, "Come back next week." One of the things I thought was really interesting about teaching adults versus kids was the adults would would ask me for homework.
Right.
And I thought that was very interesting because I spent my entire career attempting not to give kids homework so they could have lives outside of school. And now I'm working with adults who clearly want to apply what they're learning in this class to their everyday. And so they're looking for homework. And
Incredible.
so I added that to my last series of classes, and they loved it. It was great.
Beautiful. Now, now that you've done all these things, found your first clients, uh, maybe there are other people who are like in a service business like you are. They're trying to get the word out there. How are you marketing yourself or getting the word out there today?
Um, Word of mouth is a big piece. Facebook has been, and social media in general. I've created a newsletter that when I meet people and shake their hand, they give me their email, and I add them to my newsletter list. I ask them clearly.
Yes.
And on the newsletter, it has all of the classes that are listed. I've partnered with a local university, and I teach these classes at that university, actually, as well. And as a part of their child wellness class series. And so they advertise for me as well. So they'll say that this is the next series coming up, and Jody Swift will be the facilitator and teacher, and come on out, sign up, and go from there.
You have covered a very important aspect there by just what you do, and we talk about it often here at the show, and that is the importance of joint venturing. Like, you are
Mm.
joint venturing with the university there and making such a huge difference. Talk to us about the value of working with other people who may be in the same line of what you're trying to do, or maybe slightly different.
I truly feel it's essential. I joke all the time that it takes a community to raise a Jody. Like, the reality is that without community, none of us would have businesses because there
Absolutely.
wouldn't be anything to give anybody else. So when you're working in synergy with other people, I saw this great quote once from one of the personal development classes I took that was 1+1 = 3. And the idea that we can create infinite possibilities by putting two minds together,
Absolutely.
right? And so when I'm creating, I rarely do it in solo. My classes have even been built with fellow teachers who I bounce things off of, and and just kind of run things by, because I'm like, how do you interpret this, and what does your mind work like? And I'm an innovator, and that's my gift, and I know that is my gift. But then I have weaknesses in other areas, right? So I
Right.
have to bring in my team. I have to bring in my finance person. I have to bring in my my controller kind of personality that can see the drive in the business, right?
Right.
Because that's not my strength.
Incredible, incredible. I couldn't agree anymore. Doing what we do. I'll tell you a fun story. We've been truly blessed. There's no way in 100 years I would be doing what I'm doing if I was doing it on my own. We now have
Yeah.
clients in Australia, the US, Canada, here, in all these other places. I wouldn't be able to do it without joint venturing or working with other people in harmony. It's just impossible.
Oh
And
my goodness. Even where my studio space is because the woman next door. I was taking a class in her studio, and she said to me, "It would be amazing if you moved next door." And we started working in synergy, kind of like, we've got a restaurant in Canada that's really well known called Tim Hortons, and
right,
it's like a coffee shop, like Starbucks. You probably have heard of.
yes,
Um, and so they've partnered with Wendy's, which is a hamburger joint,
right,
and they've purchased buildings together. And these two businesses are running out of the same building, sharing costs, sharing clients, sharing customers. And it's such a clever business model because you show up, and maybe you've got a kid that wants to have a burger, maybe you've got somebody who wants to have a coffee. They're not competing, they're working in um, tandem. with each other. And
Absolutely.
so this girl and I were talking about doing that with our studios. How can we support each other? Everything is in abundance if you see it. It doesn't have to be a competition. It can be, I could run a yoga class out of my studio, and then when I'm running my drumming class, she can be running a yoga class out of her studio, and just at different times, so that we can support the community together.
Absolutely. Gosh, absolutely. You're just nailing it right there. So if you're just listening, you've just had it straight from Jody. And, I totally, support that. Figure out ways of creating joint venturing with others in your business, in your line of work. Is the fastest way to get to your goals, just by, collaborating with others. Jody, when you go out to look for joint ventures, or maybe the people that you now work with, on any subject, how do you go about picking the right people?
I I really believe in the power of attraction.
Right.
So I think they've just shown up in my world, and I'm looking for particular personality types. So um, I'm looking for really open-minded people who see possibility in a number of different things. And
Right.
so, when I hear limiting beliefs come out of people, like, oh, that can't be done, or words around, uh, well, I don't believe, they would want that, or just that kind of negative, limiting belief mentality and words, I'm totally unattracted to it.
That's right.
I immediately go to, ew, ew, ew. First of all, come take my classes, A. And then B, the other side of it is I definitely need to surround myself with people who believe in absolute possibility.
Incredible.
I know Wayne Dyer said once that he got stuck on an airplane, a situation where he was talking to a person who the airline had shut down because of the weather, and he was talking to a stewardess who was attempting to reroute everybody, and she just said to him, "It's impossible. Like, it's impossible to get you to Boston, for this conference that you're doing." And he said, "Then give me somebody who believes it's possible." Right? And another
Incredible.
woman showed up and eventually was able to make it possible. And I just thought the first stage of any relationship that I'm looking for with people has to do with somebody believing it's possible.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful. And that leads me naturally to another point which you touched on, when you were talking about, how you're spreading, or getting your second clients now, how you're marketing. And that is the power of referral. Uh, well, our growth, in world outsourcing solutions, and even in my offline company, recruitment company, uh, we do a lot of things online because many of my employees are online. But the easy clients to convert, to work with, are the ones that come through referral. Has that been the
Uh,
case with you?
oh, yes, absolutely. I think referrals are invaluable. And
Incredible.
I think they're feedback, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if people are bringing you people, they think that what you have is valuable.
Absolutely. Therefore, if you are a business owner, focus on what you're doing so well, and you will create salespeople for yourself, people who are going to be raving about what you do. And rather than just doing, a clumsy job, and or not providing the service that is of the highest service level, go out there and provide real value, and from there, referrals come through.
Very much so.
Incredible.
In my dream of dreams, Studio Me will be a place where, very much like having a gym membership, you would have a membership to your mind, body, and soul. You
Wow.
know, where people can come and experience all these different things, right?
Right.
In terms of what they could expect at a space like that.
Incredible. Jody, we're coming towards the end of our time here together, but I know for a fact that people would love to connect with you some level, maybe just to have question answered or just to, enjoy that peace that you come with, that space you have.
Oh, I'd be honored.
How can they connect with you?
So I have a website for Self High Five, which is self SELF high HIGH 5FIVE.org. ORG. And so that's a really easy website. There's actually a communication piece on there. My email's on there. I think my phone number might even be on there as well, where people can get a hold of me, so we can talk further if they would like that.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And is there anything I haven't asked you about, that you feel entrepreneurs, especially those in the early stage of running their own business, uh, can benefit from your knowledge?
If I could give any advice around entrepreneurship, I would say form your tribe.
Right.
Find the people who believe in you and believe in your vision, and get clear on your vision, and then form your tribe, and the rest will come. And continue to educate yourself on you, not just on business, but on you and how you tick. Because there are a lot of people. I spent the last year taking business courses. That was my focus, because I wanted to make sure that I had some ground, some foundation for what I want to create here. But now I really know what I don't know. Like, I'm very clear on what I don't know.
Yes.
And so I have absolutely created a tribe. And that has been the best part of my success so far.
Incredible. Absolutely. Create your tribe. I love what you said about, educate yourself on you. That is amazing. Truly, that is amazing.
Thank you.
It is
Well, you
amazing.
are amazing.
I think,
Like, that's the thing, is that people really don't understand the level of amazement of what they could bring if they were playing at the full level that they're capable of playing at. It's really remarkable.
incredible. I remember listening to Jim Rohn. I'm sure you're familiar with Jim Rohn.
Love him, yes.
Incredible man, incredible. And he said, the moment you start learning about yourself, your outlook on life changes and your priorities rearrange themselves in such a way that you're one with the nature and you begin to experience success. I'm just paraphrasing there, but it made so much sense that if you want to be successful, number one priority is to know yourself, know thyself. Not only the negative or the limitation, but also the positive aspect of who you are, and then operate from there. And you achieve success in every single day, and you begin to be open to the abundance that is all around you. And you're bringing exactly the same knowledge. Thank you.
I'd say pretend day 565 is day one.
Wow.
Care that much.
Wow. Wow. Outstanding. Well, Jody, you have been wonderful. Thank you so much for spending time with us here and sharing your knowledge. We've touched a whole lot of subjects that I didn't even think we were going to touch on today. Really,
Welcome to my class.
really, really, really wonderful. And if you're just joining us and you're listening to this, and you just got into the middle of this, go back and listen to the entire interview. Jody has a way of making subject easier and relatable, and I've certainly have enjoyed having Jody here with us today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and for your words. I really, really appreciate that.
You're welcome. And again, if you want to connect with Jody, go to selfhighfive.com. Is it .com or
.org.
Yes, and you'll
Yeah.
be able say that again in full.
Okay. Selfhighfive.org.
.org.
And you can fire me your email, and I will add you to my newsletter.
incredible. And also, just reach out to Jody. She might have the
Mhm.
answer that you're looking for. I've learned in my own life that people come in our lives for a reason. Nothing happens in accident. You're listening to this. Uh, maybe it's not purely by accident. Maybe Jody has something that you want, or you just want to connect with somebody who will help you get aligned and go for your for your dreams and operate from a place where you are happy, from a place of real you, and you can make a difference in your business, in your community, and of course, ultimately, in this wonderful world that we all call home. Uh,
Beautiful.
so thanks again for joining us. And Jody, you've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for being with us and being so generous with your knowledge.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
And we would like to wish you
Have a great day.
Absolutely. We want to wish you great success in your next project, building this center.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.